Everyone at the Cascade Canine Rehabilitation Center knew one rule: never go near cage 7. The warning wasn't written anywhere, didn't need to be. You heard it your first day, saw it in the way the handlers moved through that hallway, how they'd cross to the far wall when passing that particular cage, how their voices dropped to whispers. The dog inside wasn't just aggressive, he was broken in a way that made him dangerous. His name was Titan, German Shepherd, 6 years old, 78 pounds of muscle and trauma, coat still thick and dark despite everything he'd been through, eyes that had once been sharp and focused, trained to detect threats, to protect, to serve. Now those eyes held nothing but fury. The cage itself sat at the end of the east corridor. Number 7. Steel bars reinforced after Titan bent the original ones during his first week. Concrete floor scratched deep from claws that never stopped moving. The walls around it bore marks too. Places where Titan had thrown himself against the barriers, again and again. Most dogs at Cascade were quiet during the day, resting, conserving energy, waiting for the handlers who'd come with food, with kind words, with the promise of exercise in the outdoor runs. Not Titan. Titan paced, endless circuits, front to back, side to side, his nails clicking on concrete in a rhythm that never changed. Click, 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 click. Pause, turn, click, 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 click. A metronome of misery that echoed through the entire wing. And when someone approached his cage, any cage within 3 feet of his territory, the pacing stopped. The growling started, low at first, a rumble deep in his chest that you felt more than heard, then building, rising, until it became something primal, something that made your hindbrain scream at you to run, to get away from this predator who'd decided you were a threat. The handlers had learned, most of them. 4 hadn't learned fast enough. Graham Holloway kept the incident reports in his office. Top drawer, right side. He didn't need to open that drawer to remember what was written there. Handler Davis approached cage to deliver food. Titan lunged. Bars held, but Davis stumbled backward. Sprained wrist. Minor lacerations from falling on concrete. Handler Kowalski attempted to clean adjacent cage. Titan attacked the bars, separating them. Kowalski, struck by piece of metal food bowl, Titan threw through the gap. Required 8 stitches above left eye. Dr. Morrison, veterinarian, needed to sedate Titan for examination. Used extension pole with syringe. Titan caught the pole, jerked it. Morrison's shoulder dislocated. Handler Chen, new employee, didn't listen to warnings, thought he could connect with Titan. Opened the cage. Chen spent 3 days in the hospital. 42 stitches, puncture wounds on both forearms, deep tissue damage to right hand. Titan hadn't tried to kill him. Graham knew this because he'd seen Titan work before, seen what this dog could do when he meant to take someone down. Titan had been making a point. Stay away. 6 months. That's how long Titan had been in cage 7. 6 months since Officer Garrett Walsh died in a warehouse raid on the east side of Portland. Drug operation. 3 suspects. Walsh went in first, with Titan clearing the way. The suspects had guns. Walsh had taken 2 rounds. Sent a mass. Dropped before he could call for backup. Titan stayed with him. Defended him. Kept the suspects back while Walsh bled out on that concrete floor. Kept them back until the other officers finally breached. But by then, Walsh was gone. And something in Titan died with him. The department tried, brought in their best handlers, trainers from Seattle, even flew in a specialist from Colorado who worked with military dogs suffering from PTSD. Nothing worked. Titan wouldn't bond, wouldn't respond to commands. Attacked anyone who tried to establish dominance, tried to break through the wall of rage he'd built around himself. After 3 months, Portland PD made the call. Titan was retired, sent to Cascade, given a chance to decompress, to heal, to find a new purpose. Graham Holloway had been running Cascade for 11 years, cared for over 200 retired canines in that time. Police dogs, military dogs, search and rescue, bomb detection, every specialty you could name. And he'd seen plenty of dogs struggle with transition, seen aggression, seen fear, seen animals who'd given everything to their work and didn't know how to stop. But he'd never seen anything like Titan. Never seen a dog so completely shattered by loss. Graham was 55, former canine handler himself. 20 years with King County Sheriff's Office before his knees gave out and he took the job at Cascade. He'd worked with German Shepherds, Malinois, Rottweilers, Dobermans. Understood how these working breeds thought, how they processed the world. But Titan was different. Titan wasn't just aggressive. He was grieving. And grief, Graham had learned, could be more dangerous than any trained attack protocol. The morning of January 15th, 2024, started like most mornings at Cascade. Cold, Oregon winter settling over the facility like a wet blanket. Grey sky pressing down, temperature in the low 40s, the kind of damp that got into your bones and stayed there. Graham arrived at 6:30, unlocked the main building, started the coffee maker in the break room, checked the overnight logs. Nothing unusual. The dogs had been quiet, even Titan. Especially Titan, which was strange. Usually the night reports mentioned him. Pacing, growling, attacking the cage bars when the overnight handler did rounds. Last night, nothing. Graham made a mental note to check on him after the morning feeding. The other handlers arrived at 7. Kyle Brennan, the facility's veterinarian. 42, former Army medic, knew his way around trauma, both human and canine. Then Rebecca Strand, who wasn't technically staff. She was a therapist, worked with veterans, had an arrangement with Cascade to bring clients here, exposure therapy, animal-assisted counseling, whatever you wanted to call it. Graham had his doubts about therapy dogs and emotional support animals and all that softer side of canine work. He was old school. Dogs had jobs. They did those jobs. That was the relationship. But Rebecca had gotten results. 3 placements in the last year. Veterans who'd been living alone, isolated, refusing help. Now they had dogs. Structure. Purpose. So Graham tolerated her presence, even if she did talk too much about feelings. This morning she had someone with her. Graham saw them through the window of his office, Rebecca's silver Subaru pulling into the lot. She got out first. Then the passenger door opened. The man who emerged moved carefully, one hand on the doorframe, the other holding a white cane, red tip, the kind blind people used. He was tall, maybe 6'1", lean build, not skinny but worn down, like he'd been strong once and time had filed the edges off. Grey hair cut military short, face weathered, deep lines around the eyes, around the mouth. He wore Levi's that had seen better days, brown work boots, a flannel shirt under a canvas jacket. Everything looked old, not dirty, just used. The cane tapped ahead of him as he walked, sweep left, sweep right, finding the path. Rebecca stayed close but didn't touch him, didn't guide him, just matched his pace. They reached the entrance. Rebecca held the door. The man tapped through. Graham met them in the lobby. "Graham," Rebecca said, "this is Dalton Pierce. Dalton Graham Holloway runs the facility." Dalton extended his hand, not quite in the right direction. Graham adjusted, met it. The handshake was firm, controlled. The hand of someone who'd learned to compensate for what he couldn't see. "Mr. Pierce," Graham said. "Just Dalton." The voice was rough. Smoker's rasp, maybe. Or just decades of not using it much. "Appreciate you having me." "Rebecca says you're interested in a service dog." "She says a lot of things." Rebecca smiled. "Dalton's been resistant to the idea, but I convinced him to at least come look." "Can't really look," Dalton said. "No humor in it. Just fact." Graham studied him, saw the way Dalton's head tilted slightly, tracking sounds, the coffee maker in the break room, the hum of the heating system, a dog barking somewhere in the south wing. "How long?" Graham asked. 20 years, give or take. Service burn, Army, EOD, got careless in Fallujah. Graham nodded. Explosive ordnance disposal. The guys who disarmed IEDs. Walked up to bombs that could vaporize a city block and took them apart with hand tools. Careless was probably the wrong word.
"We have 3 dogs in the READY program," Graham said. "Fully trained for mobility assistance. All of them are good with—" "I don't need a babysitter," Dalton cut in. "I get around fine." "Then why are you here?" Silence. Rebecca filled it. "Dalton lives alone, has for 2 years, since his divorce. We've been working on isolation issues." "I'm standing right here," Dalton said. "I know. And you're doing that thing where you pretend you don't need help." "I don't." "You fell last month. Cracked 2 ribs. Didn't call anyone for 6 hours." Dalton's jaw tightened. That was different. It's always different. Graham had seen this before. Pride. Independence. The refusal to admit that maybe, just maybe, life didn't have to be this hard. "Why don't we walk through?" Graham said. "No commitment. Just see the dogs. See if any of them speak to you." "Speak to me," Dalton repeated. "They're dogs. You'd be surprised." They moved through the facility, Graham leading.
Rebecca beside Dalton, though she still didn't touch him, didn't guide, let him work it out with the cane. Tap, tap, tap. The rhythm was precise, controlled, every third step, sweep pattern that covered the width of the hallway. Dalton had been doing this a long time. The main corridor ran east to west, cages on both sides. Most of the morning residents were quiet, fed and resting. A few barked as they passed, curious, excited, hoping for attention. Graham stopped at cage 3. "This is Ranger," he said. "Labrador Retriever, 8 years old, retired from search and rescue, avalanche work up in Washington. He's gentle, patient, good in crowds." Dalton's head turned slightly, tracking the sound of Ranger's breathing. "He's yellow," Graham continued. "About 70 pounds, likes to lean against people. It's his thing." "Sounds needy," Dalton said. Rebecca sighed. They moved on. Cage 5. "This is Bailey, Belgian Malinois, 6 years old, police work, drug detection. High energy but focused. She'd keep you active." Dalton said nothing. Cage 9. "Duke, German Shepherd, 7 years old, military, 2 tours in Afghanistan. Handler retired, couldn't keep him. Duke's solid, dependable." Still nothing. They reached the end of the corridor. Graham was about to suggest they head to the outdoor area, let Dalton interact with the dogs in a more open space. Then Dalton stopped, his head tilted, left ear forward. "What's down there?" he asked. Graham followed his gaze, or would have if Dalton could gaze, followed the direction his face was pointing, the east corridor, the one they didn't usually take visitors down. "Storage," Graham said. "Some of the older cages. We don't—" "There's a dog down there. Several, but they're not part of the Ready program." "Why not?" Graham hesitated. Rebecca caught his eye, shook her head slightly. But Dalton was already moving, cane sweeping, following some sound Graham couldn't hear. "Mr. Pierce." "Dalton." "Dalton, those dogs aren't suitable for placement." "Didn't ask if they were suitable. Asked what's down there." He kept walking. Rebecca hurried to catch up. Graham followed, cursing under his breath. The east corridor was dimmer. Fewer windows. The cages here were the old-style ones. Heavy steel. Built back when the facility first opened. They'd been meaning to upgrade. Budget never quite stretched far enough. Dalton moved past cage 1, past 2, past 3 and 4 and 5. At cage 6 he slowed. At cage 7 he stopped. Inside, Titan stopped pacing. The silence was immediate. Absolute. Graham felt his pulse quicken. He'd never heard Titan go quiet like that. Not when someone was this close. Dalton stood 2 feet from the bars. Cane held loosely in his right hand, left hand empty at his side. "What's his name?" Dalton asked. "Titan," Graham said quietly. "But you don't want—" "What happened to him?" "His handler died, 6 months ago." Dalton nodded. Small movement. Like he understood something Graham hadn't said. "He's dangerous," Graham tried again. "He's attacked 4 of my staff. We're—" He stopped. "You're what?" Graham looked at Rebecca. She looked away. "We're evaluating options," Graham said. "Options?" Dalton repeated. "You mean you're going to put him down?" "If we can't rehabilitate him, yes. It's scheduled for 2 weeks from now, January 29th. Dalton's face showed nothing, but his hand tightened on the cane. Inside cage 7, Titan took a step forward, then another, moving toward the front of the cage, toward the bars, toward this stranger who couldn't see him, but somehow knew he was there. "He's coming to you," Graham said, voice low. That's not normal." "Normal seems overrated," Dalton said. He knelt. Slow movement. Careful. The way someone moves when their joints don't work like they used to. When getting down means you have to think about getting back up. He set the cane on the floor beside him. Extended his left hand, palm up, not reaching through the bars, not trying to touch, just offering. Titan's nose came forward, black and wet, sniffing, taking in this new scent. Sweat and soap and old canvas, coffee, something else underneath, something chemical, medical, the scent of someone who'd been broken and put back together wrong. Titan's ears, which had been pinned back for 6 months, came forward, just slightly. "Hey," Dalton said, voice quiet. "I know what you're feeling." Titan's head tilted. "Lost someone," Dalton continued. "Someone who mattered. Someone who was supposed to be there and now they're gone and the world doesn't make sense anymore." Graham watched, barely breathing. Rebecca had her hand over her mouth. "I know that anger," Dalton said. "That rage that comes from nowhere and goes nowhere, just sits in your chest like a stone." Titan took another step, close enough now that his breath fogged the air between them. "I know what it's like to be alone in a room full of people. To have everyone look at you and see something broken, something dangerous." Dalton's hand stayed steady, palm up, waiting. "I know what it's like when the dark is all you have left." Titan's nose touched Dalton's palm. The contact lasted maybe 2 seconds, maybe less. Then Titan pressed his head forward, through the bars, into Dalton's hand. The sound that came from the dog's throat wasn't a growl. It was a whimper. Small, broken. The sound of something that had been holding itself together through pure rage and suddenly didn't have to anymore. Dalton's fingers moved, gentle, finding the spot behind Titan's ears, the pressure point that every dog loved. "It's okay," he whispered. "I've got you. You're not alone." Titan's eyes closed. For the first time in 6 months, the tension left his body. His weight sagged against the bars, against Dalton's hand. Graham realized his own eyes were wet. Rebecca was crying openly. Neither of them moved. Neither wanted to break whatever was happening here. Dalton stayed kneeling for a long time, hand on Titan's head, both of them still, both of them breathing. Finally, Dalton spoke. "I'll take him," he said. "You can't," Graham said automatically. "He's not cleared. He's not safe." "Neither am I." "Mr. Pierce." "How long did you say? 2 weeks?" "Yes, but—" "Give me those 2 weeks. Let me work with him." "That's not how this works. We have protocols, training requirements, evaluation periods." Dalton turned his head, not quite looking at Graham, but close. "I spent 20 years in the dark," he said. "Learned to read people by their breathing, by the weight of their steps, by the silence between words." He turned back to Titan. "This dog isn't dangerous. He's terrified. Terrified that if he lets anyone in, he'll lose them too. Terrified that the pain will never stop. And you think you can fix that? No." "I think we can survive it together." Graham opened his mouth, closed it, looked at Rebecca. She nodded. 2 weeks, Graham heard himself say. "You come here every day, every single day. Miss one session and the arrangement ends. And if he shows any sign of aggression toward you, he won't. If he does, we stop immediately. I'm not letting anyone else get hurt." "Fair enough." Dalton started to stand. Struggled. His knees weren't cooperating. Titan whined. Soft sound. Concerned. Rebecca moved to help, but Graham stopped her. Watched as Dalton worked it out on his own. Hand on the floor. Weight shifted. One leg under him, then the other. Finally, upright, breathing hard from the effort. He picked up his cane. "What time tomorrow?" he asked. 7 a.m. We do morning feeding at 6:30. You can come after. I'll be here at 6. You don't need to. I'll be here at 6, Dalton repeated. If I'm going to do this, I'm doing it right. He tapped his way back down the corridor. Rebecca followed, looking back once at Graham. Her expression said everything. This is either going to be amazing or it's going to be a disaster. Graham watched them go, looked back at cage 7. Titan stood at the bars, watching the empty hallway where Dalton had disappeared. Ears forward, body tense again but different, not aggressive, waiting. "Well," Graham said to the empty corridor, "this should be interesting." That night Graham stayed late, finished the paperwork, updated Titan's file, added a note about the new arrangement. Then he called the County Animal Control Office. Ronald Hendricks answered on the 3rd ring. "Holloway," Hendricks said. "Little late for a social call. Got a development on the Titan case." "Don't tell me. You found someone crazy enough to take him." "Something like that," he explained. The blind veteran, the immediate connection, the 2-week trial. Hendricks was quiet for a long moment. "You're kidding," he finally said. "I don't kid about liability." "Graham, this dog has a documented history of violence. You have a man who can't see. You really think this is a good idea?" "I think it's the only idea that's worked in 6 months. And when it doesn't work, when this Pierce guy ends up in the hospital, then we proceed as planned, January 29th. Another silence. 2 weeks, Hendricks said, "but I want daily reports. Any incident, any sign of aggression, we're done. And I mean done. No extensions, no second chances." "Understood. I hope you know what you're doing." Graham hung up, stared at the phone. So do I, he thought. He walked through the facility, checked on the dogs. Most were sleeping. A few looked up as he passed. Duke wagged his tail. Bailey stretched. At cage 7, Titan was lying down. Unusual. He usually paced until midnight, but tonight he was still, eyes open, staring at the empty corridor, waiting for morning. Waiting for the man who'd touched him without fear. The man who understood. Graham stood there a long time, watching this broken dog who'd finally found something worth hoping for. "Don't let me down," he whispered. "Either of you." The building settled into silence. Outside, rain started to fall, Oregon winter doing what it did best, Inside cage 7. Titan's eyes slowly closed. For the first time in 6 months, he slept without nightmares. And 70 miles away, in a small apartment in northeast Portland, Dalton Pierce sat in his kitchen. Hand on the table, coffee going cold beside him. He could still feel it. The texture of Titan's fur, the warmth of the dog's breath, the weight of that head pressing into his palm. Could still hear that whimper, that sound of recognition, of finding someone who understood what it meant to be lost. Dalton had stopped believing in signs a long time ago. Stopped believing in purpose or fate or any of the things people said when they were trying to make sense of senseless things. But tonight, sitting in the dark that had been his world for 20 years, he felt something he hadn't felt since Fallujah. Hope. Just a spark. Just enough to be dangerous. Just enough to make him think that maybe, just maybe, he could do this. Could save this dog. Could save himself. He finished his coffee, rinsed the cup, set his alarm for 4:30 a.m. Tomorrow would come early. And Dalton Pierce had a promise to keep. Day 8 started with a phone call Graham wished he'd never answered. 5:20 a.m. His bedside phone screaming in the dark. He fumbled for it, knocked over a water glass, finally got it to his ear. Holloway. It's Hendricks. The voice was clipped, angry. We have a problem. Graham sat up, rubbed his face. What kind of problem? The kind that just made the 11 o'clock news. Retired police K9 in Salem attacked a 6-year-old girl yesterday. 70 stitches, still in pediatric ICU. Graham's stomach dropped. Jesus. County's in full crisis mode. Every facility with aggressive dog classifications is getting reviewed. Emergency board meeting at 9 a.m. non-negotiable. What does that mean for Titan? Hendricks was quiet for a moment. Graham could hear papers rustling, someone talking in the background. It means your 2-week timeline just became 48 hours. What? New policy. Effective immediately. Any dog classified dangerous gets 48 hours to demonstrate rehabilitation. After that, we proceed with euthanasia. Ronald, that's not possible. We're making progress, but I don't care about progress, Graham. I care about liability. I care about the county getting sued into oblivion because we placed an aggressive animal that hurt someone. Titan hasn't hurt anyone in 8 days. 8 days isn't a track record. It's a coincidence. Graham swung his legs out of bed, started pacing. You're not giving us enough time. I'm giving you what the board approved, 48 hours. That puts us at Friday morning, 10 a.m. If Titan can pass an independent evaluation by then, fine. If not, we're done. And Pierce, the veteran who's been working with him. That's your problem, not mine. Figure it out or don't. But Friday at 10, one way or another, this situation resolves. The line went dead. Graham stood in his bedroom, phone in hand, heart pounding. 48 hours. 2 days. He'd promised Dalton 2 weeks. Promised Titan a fair chance. Now he had to tell them they were out of time. When Dalton arrived at 5:47, Graham was waiting in the lobby. Coffee made, lights on, but no smile, no greeting. Dalton's cane found the doorframe, found Graham's silence. What happened? Dalton asked. How do you know something happened? You're breathing different, stressed. Graham let out a bitter laugh. Yeah, that's one word for it, he explained. The attack in Salem, the emergency policy, the 48-hour deadline. Dalton listened without interrupting. Face unreadable. When Graham finished, Dalton was quiet for a long time. So we have 2 days, Dalton finally said. Yes. To do what was supposed to take 2 weeks. Yes. And if we fail, Graham couldn't say it, couldn't put words to what failure meant. Dalton nodded, like he understood anyway. Then we don't fail, Dalton said. Dalton, I don't think you understand the situation. I understand perfectly. Dalton's voice was hard. I understand that the world decided Titan doesn't deserve a chance, just like it decided I didn't deserve to see again, just like it decided Walsh didn't deserve to come home. He tapped his cane against the floor, sharp, deliberate. But I also understand that I don't give a damn what the world decided. We have 48 hours, so we use them. Graham stared at him. This blind man who'd shown up 8 days ago broken and resistant and barely holding himself together. Now standing here like he was ready to go to war. Okay, Graham said quietly. Then, let's get to work. They walked to cage 7 together, Dalton moving faster than usual, purpose in every step. Titan was different this morning. Dalton stopped 3 feet from the bars, heard something he hadn't expected. Titan was already awake, already waiting at the front of the cage. No pacing, no distant sounds of movement from the back corner. Just breathing. Close, deliberate. He knew you were coming, Graham said quietly. Been at the bars since I unlocked the building. Like he could sense you. Dalton felt something tighten in his chest. In 8 days, he'd taught Titan commands, responses, basic trust. But this was different. This was anticipation, recognition. This was Titan choosing to wait for him. Dalton lowered himself down.
The movement came easier now. 3 days of practice. He extended his hand. Titan's nose appeared through the bars, cold, wet, pressing into Dalton's palm. "Good morning," Dalton said. Titan made a sound. Not quite a whine, not quite a whimper, something in between. "I know," Dalton said. "I'm here." Graham watched for another minute, then cleared his throat. "I'll get his breakfast ready," he said. "You two, just stay there." His footsteps receded. Dalton and Titan remained, connected by touch, by something neither of them had words for. "We're going to figure this out," Dalton told him. "Both of us. Together." Titan's tongue came out. Licked Dalton's wrist once. It was a start. The first week had followed a pattern. Dalton arrived before dawn, sat with Titan outside the cage, sometimes talking, sometimes quiet, just being present. Graham would bring food. Titan wouldn't eat until Dalton slid the bowl through the gap at the bottom of the cage. Wouldn't drink until Dalton's hand touched the water dish. Day 3. Dalton asked Graham to leave Titan's food with him. "I'll feed him," Dalton said. "You sure?" "I'm sure." Graham hesitated, then set the bowl beside Dalton. "His food is kibble mixed with wet," Graham said. "Half and half. The bowl is—" "I've got it." Dalton's hands found the bowl, felt the weight of it, the texture of the food inside. He positioned himself beside the cage opening, pushed the bowl through. Titan didn't move immediately, testing, making sure this was real. Then he came forward, started eating. Dalton stayed kneeling, hand resting near the opening. Titan ate. Every few bites he'd stop, press his nose to Dalton's hand, then go back to eating, making sure Dalton was still there, making sure he wasn't alone. Day 5. Graham brought Dr. Kyle Brennan to observe. Kyle was the facility vet, 42, former Army medic. He'd been one of the people Titan had gone after. Not badly, just enough to make his point. Kyle kept his distance. "How's he doing?" Kyle asked. "Better," Graham said. "Watch." Dalton was reading to Titan. Some paperback he'd picked up at a thrift store years ago. Tom Clancy novel. He'd read it before he lost his sight. Could remember enough of the story to fake the parts he couldn't quite recall. Titan lay against the bars, head on his paws, eyes on Dalton's face. "That's impossible," Kyle said quietly. "I know. The same dog that nearly took my arm off is lying there like a house pet." "Only with him," Graham said. "Anyone else comes near, he's still the same, still aggressive, still territorial." "So what does that mean?" Graham watched Dalton turn a page, watched Titan's ear twitch at the sound. "Means we've got a problem," Graham said. "Because even if Dalton can work with him, if Titan won't accept anyone else, we can't place him. Can't place him anyway if he's bonded to Dalton." "I know." "So what's the play here?" Graham didn't answer. Day 7, Dalton asked the question Graham had been waiting for. "Can I go in there?" They were alone. Morning feeding done. The other handlers hadn't arrived yet. Graham had known this was coming, had been dreading it. "No," he said. "Why not?" "Because if he hurts you, I lose my facility, lose my license, probably face criminal charges for negligence. I'm volunteering. I'll sign whatever you need." "Doesn't matter. Insurance won't cover it. County won't allow it." Dalton's jaw tightened. "So what am I supposed to do? Sit outside this cage for 2 weeks and then what? Walk away? I don't know. That's not good enough. It's all I've got." Silence. Titan paced inside the cage, back and forth, sensing the tension. "He needs to trust people again," Dalton said. "Not just me. He needs to know the world isn't all threat and loss." "I agree. But we can't risk." "What risk?" Dalton cut in. "That he might hurt me. I've been hurt before. I survived. This is different." "How?" Graham struggled for the words. "Because this dog, Dalton, he's not just aggressive. He's grieving. And grief makes animals unpredictable. Makes them do things they wouldn't normally do." "Sounds familiar." "What? Grief making you unpredictable?" Dalton stood, used his cane to find his balance. I know what that's like too. He tapped toward the exit. Graham let him go, watched until the sound of the cane faded, then looked at Titan. The dog stood at the front of the cage, staring at the empty corridor, whining. Now, with 48 hours left, everything changed. Dalton wanted to try something. Let me work with Titan in the training room, he said. Controlled environment. You can have as many handlers as you want standing by. Dalton, I'm not asking to go in his cage. I'm asking for a space where we can work without bars between us. Graham set down his pen.
Why? Because I need to know if this is real. If what we have can exist outside of this corridor, outside of this routine we've built. And if it can't, Dalton's face was unreadable, then you'll have your answer, and so will I. Graham thought about it, thought about Ronald Hendricks and his warnings, thought about insurance and liability and all the bureaucratic reasons to say no, then thought about Titan, about 6 months of watching a dog destroy himself from the inside out. 1 hour, Graham said. Training room B, padded floor, 2 handlers with tranquilizer guns outside the observation window. When? Now, before I change my mind. Training room B was 20 feet by 20 feet. Padded mats on the floor, walls covered in thick foam, originally designed for aggressive dog rehabilitation, teaching them to redirect their energy without destroying property or people. It had been a while since they'd used it for its intended purpose. Graham had Kyle standing by with a tranquilizer gun, had another handler, Marcus, with a second gun, both outside the observation window, ready. Dalton stood in the center of the room, cane at his side, breathing steady. Remember, Graham said through the intercom, any sign of aggression, we're coming in. Understood. I mean it. He even looks at you wrong. I got it. Graham nodded to Marcus. Marcus headed to Cage 7. They'd worked out the logistics. Titan would be on a reinforced lead. Marcus would walk him to Training Room B, open the door, release the lead, close the door. Fast, efficient, minimal exposure. Graham watched through the window, saw Marcus coming down the corridor, saw Titan on the lead. The dog's entire body was tense, ears back, lips curled. Marcus was sweating despite the cold. They reached the door. Marcus fumbled with the latch, got it open. Titan lunged through. The lead fell away. The door slammed shut. Inside the room, Titan spun, looking for the threat, looking for something to attack. Found Dalton. Froze. Dalton hadn't moved. Stood exactly where he'd been, hands at his sides, cane touching the floor. Hey, he said quietly. It's okay. It's just us. Titan's ears came forward, just slightly. No one's going to hurt you here, Dalton continued. No cage, no bars, just you and me. Titan took a step, then another, circling, checking the perimeter, making sure. Dalton turned his head, tracking Titan by sound, by the soft pad of paws on mat. That's it, he said. Take your time. Figure it out. Titan completed the circle, came back to where he'd started, 3 feet from Dalton. Dalton dropped to one knee. Fast. Confident. No hesitation. The movement surprised everyone watching. Kyle's hand tightened on the tranquilizer gun anyway. Dalton extended his hand. Palm up. Steady. Titan didn't move. Dalton waited. Patient. No tension in his body. No expectation. Just offering. 30 seconds passed. Felt like 30 minutes. Then Titan stepped forward, pressed his nose to Dalton's palm. The breath everyone had been holding released. Titan moved closer, sniffing Dalton's jacket, his chest, his face, learning him, memorizing him. Dalton's hand came up slowly, found Titan's head, the spot behind his ears. Titan leaned into the touch. Good boy, Dalton whispered. Good boy. For the next 40 minutes, Dalton worked with Titan. Nothing fancy, no commands, no training protocols, just connection. He'd run his hands over Titan's body, checking for injuries, for sore spots. His fingers were gentle, methodical, the way someone touches when they can't see but need to understand. Titan allowed it. All of it. Stood still while Dalton examined his legs, his paws, the old scar on his shoulder from the shooting 6 months ago. This hurt? Dalton asked, touching the scar. Titan flinched slightly. Dalton's fingers gentled, moved to a different spot. I've got you. We'll take it slow. Near the end of the hour, Dalton sat on the floor, back against the padded wall. Titan sat beside him, not touching, just close. I lost 2 guys in Fallujah, Dalton said quietly. When the bomb went off, Rodriguez and Chen, good soldiers, better men. Titan's ear twitched. I dream about them sometimes. Still, 20 years later, I see them. Actually see them. Clear as anything. He paused. That's the funny thing about going blind. The last things you saw. They never fade. They just get stuck there, behind your eyes. Forever. Titan shifted, moved closer, head resting against Dalton's leg. But you know what I don't see. I don't see the after. The funerals. The coffins. The flags. Dalton's hand found Titan's head. I think that's why I can't let go. Because in my head they're still alive, still joking around before a patrol, still human. He was quiet for a long moment. You saw it, though. Saw your person die. Saw everything. Titan made a soft sound. And I bet you replay it. Every day. Every night. Looking for the thing you could have done different. The way you could have saved him. Dalton's voice broke slightly. But there wasn't anything. Was there? You did everything right. And he still died. And now you're here. And he's not. Titan pressed harder against Dalton's leg. I know, Dalton said. I know. Graham's throat tightened. He'd run Cascade for 11 years, seen hundreds of dogs and handlers, watched bonds form, watched trauma heal. But he'd never seen this. Never seen 2 broken things recognize each other so completely. Kyle stood beside him, silent, watching through the glass like he was witnessing something sacred. Neither of them spoke. Some moments didn't need words. At the 1-hour mark, Graham activated the intercom. Dalton, time's up. No response. Dalton, I heard you. We need to get Titan back to his cage. Dalton nodded, slowly got to his feet. Titan stood with him. See you tomorrow, Dalton told the dog. Titan whined. Marcus entered with the lead. Titan's entire demeanor changed. Ears back, teeth bared. Easy, Marcus said. Titan snapped. Didn't connect. Just warning. Titan, Dalton's voice. Calm, firm. It's okay. He's not a threat. Titan looked back at Dalton, then at Marcus. Growled low. I know, Dalton said. But we have to do this. I'll be back tomorrow. I promise. Marcus clipped the lead. Titan fought it, pulling, straining toward Dalton. Come on, boy, Marcus said. Let's go. They got him out, got the door closed. Graham entered the training room. Dalton stood in the center, hand gripping his cane, face turned toward the closed door. That was remarkable, Graham said. That was progress. More than progress. That was not enough. Graham stopped. What do you mean? He needs more than an hour in a padded room. He needs purpose, structure, something to focus on besides his grief. He's not ready for what, to be a pet, to sit in someone's living room and slowly go insane. He was a working dog, police canine. You can't just... Then give him work. Dalton turned, not quite facing Graham, but close enough. Give him something to do, something that uses what he was trained for, what he's good at. Like what? I don't know. That's your job. You're the expert. Graham rubbed his face. Dalton, we're running out of time. The county's deadline is in 40 hours, and Titan still won't accept anyone but you. So we have 40 hours to change that. That's not... The door opened. Kyle stepped in. Graham, he said, we've got a problem. They gathered in Graham's office. Kyle, Graham, Dalton. Kyle pulled up Titan's medical file on the computer. I did a full exam yesterday, Kyle said. While Titan was sedated for x-rays. Found something. He clicked through images. Grey and black. Bone and shadow. Dalton can't see this, Graham said. I know, I'll explain. Kyle pointed at the screen. This is Titan's skull, right side. See this area here? Yeah. That's scar tissue, and this darker region, that's where he took trauma. Blunt force, probably during the shooting that killed Officer Walsh. Jesus. It gets worse. The trauma damaged his auditory nerve, right ear. He's lost approximately 60% of his hearing on that side. Graham sat back. That's why he attacked everyone. Exactly. Someone approaches from the right, he doesn't hear them, goes into defensive mode, fight or flight, and Titan doesn't do flight. Can we fix it? Dalton asked. No, the damage is permanent, but we can work with it. Train people to approach from his left side. Use visual signals instead of verbal commands. Except Dalton can't use visual signals, Graham said. Silence. Right, Kyle said. That's the other problem. Dalton's face was unreadable. So what are you saying? I'm saying this dog needs a handler who can see, who can work with his limitations, and you... I can't see at all. Yes. More silence. Then Dalton smiled. Bitter thing. No humor in it. Funny, he said. We're both broken in exactly opposite ways. Dalton. He can't hear. I can't see. Perfect match. That's not what I meant. Isn't it? Dalton stood. Isn't that exactly what this is? Two broken things that can't possibly work together? We can find another dog, Graham said quietly. One that fits your needs better. I don't want another dog. Dalton. I want Titan, and he wants me. But practically speaking, everyone in this building has given up on him. Everyone except me. That's not fair. Dalton leaned on his cane. Fair. You want to talk about fair. Nothing about this is fair. Not Walsh dying, not Titan losing his hearing, not me losing my sight. He pointed in the general direction of the door. But you know what? We don't get to choose what's fair. We only get to choose what we do with what we're given. And what are you choosing? Kyle asked. I'm choosing to not give up. Not on him, not on myself. Graham and Kyle exchanged looks. We have 40 hours, Graham said. 40 hours before Hendricks pulls the plug, and we still don't have a solution. Then we better get creative, Dalton said. Day 9. Dalton arrived with a notebook, the kind with raised dots, braille. What's that? Graham asked. Training log. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. He sat outside cage 7, called out to Titan. The dog came immediately, pressed against the bars. Dalton ran his hands over the notebook, reading, remembering. Okay, he said. Today we work on commands, but not verbal. Physical. How? Graham asked. Vibration. He tapped his cane on the floor. 2 sharp strikes. Titan's ears perked. He felt that, Dalton said, through the concrete. Dogs are sensitive to ground vibrations. You want to train him using floor strikes. Why not I can't see to give hand signals? He can't hear well enough for voice commands, but we can both feel. Graham thought about it. That's actually not a bad idea. I have my moments. They spent the next hour establishing patterns. 2 taps meant stop, 3 meant come. 1 long tap meant down. Titan learned fast, responded to each pattern within minutes. By the end of the session, Dalton could control Titan's movement through the cage using only his cane. This could work, Kyle said, watching from the doorway. It will work, Dalton corrected. Day 10 brought a setback. Dalton arrived to find Titan pacing again, agitated. The calm from the previous days was gone. What happened? Dalton asked. County inspector came by yesterday, Graham said. Hendricks sent him. He walked past all the cages, making notes, taking pictures. And Titan went ballistic. Threw himself against the bars, tried to bite through the steel. Dalton's jaw tightened. Is he hurt? Scraped his gums. Nothing serious. But Dalton... Hendricks is documenting everything, building his case. His case for what? For shutting this down, for putting Titan down. Dalton knelt at the cage. Titan was there instantly, pressing against his hand. Hey, Dalton said softly. I know you're scared. I know this is hard. Titan whined. But you can't do that. Can't attack the bars. Can't give them reasons to give up on you. The dog's breathing was rapid, panicked. Listen to me, Dalton said. I'm not going anywhere. You hear me? I'm not leaving. Not like Walsh. Not like anyone else. He pressed his forehead against the bars. Titan pressed back. We're in this together, Dalton whispered. All the way. They stayed like that for a long time. When Dalton finally left, Graham walked him to the exit. You really care about him, Graham said. He's not the only one who needed saving. What do you mean? Dalton stopped, turned his unseeing eyes toward Graham. I've been dead for 20 years, he said. Breathing, moving, going through motions, but dead inside. And I didn't even realize it until I met him. Dalton. He gave me a reason to get up, to leave my apartment, to feel something besides anger and guilt and emptiness. His hand tightened on the cane. So yeah, I care about him. Because he cared about me first, without even knowing me. Just cared. Graham had no response to that. Day 11. 30 hours left. Dalton pushed harder. Longer sessions. More complex commands. They worked in the training room again. This time for 2 hours. Titan learned to follow Dalton using only vibration cues. Learned to stop, to sit, to stay. Learned to come when called through a combination of tap patterns and low-frequency sounds that Titan could still hear in his good ear. "He's responding," Kyle observed.
Better than any training protocol I've seen. Because it's not protocol, Dalton said. It's communication. Day 12. 24 hours left. Graham received a call from Hendricks. "Status update," Hendricks demanded. "Progress," Graham said. "Significant progress. Specific examples." Graham detailed the training sessions, the vibration commands, Titan's responsiveness to Dalton. "And with other handlers?" Hendricks asked. Graham hesitated. "Still working on that." "So no progress there?" "It takes time." "Time's up, Graham. You've got 24 hours. Either this dog is safe for placement or he's not. Ronald, no excuses, no extensions. Tomorrow morning at 10. The line went dead. Graham sat at his desk, staring at the phone. 24 hours. Not enough time. Not nearly enough. He found Dalton in the training room, working with Titan. Both of them focused. Intent. "We need to talk," Graham said. Dalton's face told him he already knew. "How long?" Dalton asked. 24 hours. Titan sensed the tension, moved closer to Dalton, protective. "What do we do?" Dalton said. "I don't know. There has to be something, some test, some way to prove he's ready." Graham shook his head, then remembered Dalton couldn't see it. "The problem isn't whether he's ready," Graham said. "The problem is he's only ready with you. And you're not a certified handler. You're not even cleared for independent mobility assistance." "So clear me. It doesn't work like that." "Why not?" "Because you're blind, Dalton. Because the county won't allow a blind handler to control a dog with documented aggression issues and partial hearing loss." The words hung in the air. Brutal. True. Dalton's face showed nothing, but his hand found Titan's head, steadied himself with that touch. "Then I guess we're out of options," he said quietly. "There might be one more thing," Kyle said from the doorway. They both turned. "What?" Graham asked. "Emotional support animal classification. Not a service dog, not a working canine, just support." "That doesn't solve the aggression issue." "No, but it changes the requirements. Emotional support animals don't need the same certifications, don't have the same public access rights, but they can still be placed with veterans through the VA." Graham thought about it. "You're talking about a home placement, private residence only." "Exactly. Titan would have to stay at Dalton's apartment. No public areas, no off-leash areas, complete containment." "Right." Dalton listened, processing. "I live alone," he said. 1-bedroom apartment, 6th floor, no yard." "Would you be able to handle him?" Kyle asked. "Feed him, walk him, manage his care without being able to see?" "I've been managing my own care for 20 years. This is different." "How?" "Because if something goes wrong, if he gets loose or hurts someone, it's on you. Legally, financially. All of it."
Dalton was quiet for a long moment. Then he knelt, put both hands on Titan's head.
"Are you worth it?" he asked the dog.
Titan licked his face. Dalton smiled, real this time.
"Yeah," he said. "You are." He stood, faced Graham's general direction. "Do it. Whatever paperwork, whatever classification, I don't care. Just make it happen." Graham looked at Kyle. Kyle nodded. "I'll call the VA," Graham said. "See what we can set up. But Dalton, this is going to require an evaluation. Independent assessor. Someone from outside the facility. When? Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. That's when Hendricks expects his answer. Then we better be ready." That night, Dalton stayed late. Graham found him in the training room, Titan beside him, both of them quiet. "You should go home," Graham said. "Get some rest. Can't sleep anyway." "Still," Dalton shook his head. "I keep thinking about Walsh.
about what his last moments must have been like. Don't do that to yourself. Why not Titan does? Every day, every night, replaying it, wondering what he could have done different. Graham entered the room, sat against the wall. Walsh was a good cop, he said. I didn't know him well, but I knew his reputation. Solid, reliable, cared about his dog. Titan loved him. I know. And Walsh died anyway. And Titan couldn't stop it. Couldn't save him. Dalton's voice was thick. That's what breaks my heart. Not the aggression, not the fear, but the guilt. This dog feels guilty for surviving when his handler didn't. Sounds familiar, Graham said quietly. Dalton's head turned slightly. Rodriguez and Chen, Graham continued. Your guys in Fallujah. You feel guilty about them too. Every day. Why you didn't set the IED? No, but I should have seen it. Should have detected it. That was my job. And you think if you'd been better, faster, smarter, they'd still be alive? Dalton didn't answer. That's survivor's guilt, Graham said. And it's a lie. You didn't kill them. The enemy did, just like Titan didn't kill Walsh. The suspects did. Doesn't change how it feels. No, but it changes what you do with it. Dalton tilted his head, listening. You can let it destroy you, Graham said. Let it turn you into something angry and broken. Or you can let it drive you, make you better, make you help others who are where you were. Like Titan. Like Titan. They sat in silence for a while. Then Graham stood. Evaluation's tomorrow, he said. 10 a.m. Assessor is Dr. Harrison Wright. He's tough but fair. Knows his stuff. What do I need to do? Just be yourself. Show him what you and Titan have built. Dalton nodded. Graham left them there. Man and dog. Both broken. Both healing. Both refusing to give up. Outside, the rain started again. Oregon winter settling in for the night. Inside Cage 7, empty now because Titan was in the training room, the silence was absolute. For the first time in 6 months, no one paced those bars. No one raged against the world. Just empty space waiting to be filled with something new, something better. Tomorrow would bring Dr. Harrison Wright. Tomorrow would bring the evaluation that decided everything. Graham locked up the facility at 9 p.m. Dalton had left an hour earlier, reluctantly. Only after Graham promised to call if anything changed. The building settled into silence. Just the sound of dogs breathing, sleeping, dreaming whatever dogs dreamed. Graham stopped at Cage 7 one last time. Titan lay against the bars, eyes open, staring at the empty corridor. Waiting. Always waiting. He's coming back, Graham told him. Tomorrow. He promised. Titan's ear twitched, but he didn't move. Graham understood. Promises were just words, and words meant nothing when you'd already lost everything once. Across the city, Dalton sat in his apartment. 6th floor, 1 bedroom, the place he'd lived alone for 2 years. He'd made dinner, eaten half of it, given up. Now he sat by the window, hand against the cold glass, feeling the vibration of traffic below. His phone buzzed. Text message. Rebecca. Heard about the timeline. I'm sorry. Call if you need to talk. He typed back. I'm okay. A lie, but a necessary one. Another text. This one from Graham. Wright confirmed for 10 a.m. Friday. 2-hour evaluation. Results immediate. Dalton read it 3 times. Then set the phone down. Friday. 10 a.m. 12 hours from now. 12 hours to prove that a blind man and a broken dog could somehow make each other whole. He thought about Titan, alone in that cage, probably not sleeping, probably pacing again now that Dalton wasn't there. Thought about Officer Walsh, about the moment he died, about Titan watching, unable to help, unable to change anything. Dalton knew that helplessness. Had felt it when Rodriguez and Chen died, when the world went dark and he couldn't even see their faces one last time. Knew what it meant to survive when others didn't, to carry that weight every single day. His hand tightened on the windowsill. We're going to make it, he whispered to the empty room. Both of us. We have to. Because the alternative was unthinkable. The alternative was walking away, letting Titan face Friday alone, letting another good soul get destroyed by a world that didn't understand broken things. Dalton had been broken for 20 years, had survived by shutting everything out, by refusing to need anyone or anything. But 8 days with Titan had changed something, had cracked open a door he'd welded shut in Fallujah, and now he couldn't close it again, didn't want to. Outside the rain started, Oregon winter doing what it did best, washing the city, making everything cold and wet and miserable. Dalton stood, walked to his bedroom, set his alarm for 4:30 a.m. Friday would come whether he was ready or not, and when it did, he would be there, at Cascade, at Cage 7, standing beside Titan when Dr. Harrison Wright made his judgment, standing beside the only living thing that had made him feel human in 2 decades. He lay down, closed his eyes that saw nothing, and somewhere in the darkness behind them, he saw Titan, saw the shape of him, the way his ears came forward when Dalton spoke, the way his head pressed into Dalton's hand like he was trying to crawl inside and stay there. "Tomorrow," Dalton said to the dark. "Tomorrow we show them." Sleep didn't come easy, but eventually it came. And when morning broke grey and cold over Portland, both man and dog woke to the same thought. Today was the day everything changed. Today they either proved the world wrong or lost each other forever. Friday morning arrived with the weight of inevitability. Dalton woke at 4:15. 15 minutes before his alarm. His internal clock had been calibrated by 2 decades of military discipline and 20 years of compensating for blindness. He lay in bed, listened to the sounds of his apartment, the hum of the refrigerator, the distant rumble of traffic on Sandy Boulevard, the rain against his 6th-floor window. Normal sounds. A normal morning, except nothing about today was normal. He sat up, swung his legs over the side of the bed, found his slippers with his feet. The apartment was cold. Heat didn't kick in until 6. He'd learned to layer. Flannel over thermal underwear, thick socks. The routine was automatic. Muscle memory built over 7,000 mornings of navigating a world he couldn't see. Bathroom, shower. The water pressure was weak but consistent. He'd memorized the number of turns on the faucet. 3.5 for the right temperature. He stood under the spray longer than necessary, trying to wash away the anxiety that had settled in his chest like concrete. It didn't work. Back to the bedroom. Clothes laid out the night before. Jeans. The flannel shirt Rebecca said was dark blue. Canvas jacket. Everything familiar. Everything chosen for utility, not appearance. Though today appearance might matter. He dressed carefully, made sure the buttons were aligned, made sure his collar wasn't twisted. Rebecca had taught him these checks. Small things that sighted people took for granted. Kitchen, coffee. He measured by feel and count. 3 scoops of grounds. Water to the 4th ridge on the pot. The machine gurgled to life. The smell filled the small space. He didn't eat. Couldn't. His stomach was a knot. The coffee finished brewing. He poured a cup. Black. No sugar. Rodriguez used to give him hell about that. Called it drinking battery acid. Chen always laughed. Dalton pushed the memory away. Focused on the present. 5:30 a.m. The first bus didn't run until 6. He had 30 minutes to kill. He sat at his small kitchen table. The same table where he'd sat every morning for 2 years. Where he'd eaten meals alone. Where he'd convinced himself that isolation was safety. His phone buzzed. Text message. Graham. "I'm at the facility. Titan's agitated. Hasn't eaten. I think he knows something's different." Dalton typed back. "On my way soon. Tell him I'm coming." Graham. "I already did. Not sure he believes me." Dalton set the phone down. Dogs understood more than people gave them credit for. Titan had lived through betrayal, through loss, through the sudden absence of someone who promised to always be there. Why would he believe another promise? Dalton stood, poured his coffee down the sink, grabbed his cane, his keys, his wallet, locked the apartment behind him. The building was quiet. Most of his neighbors were still asleep. He took the stairs instead of the elevator. 6 flights. His knees protested, but he ignored them. Needed the movement, needed something to do with the nervous energy. Outside, the rain had stopped. The air was cold and wet. He could smell it. That particular Oregon scent of damp earth and exhaust and winter. The bus stop was 3 blocks away. He knew the route by heart. Every crack in the sidewalk, every driveway, every place where tree roots had broken through the concrete. His cane found them all. At the stop, he was alone. Early commuters hadn't started yet. He stood under the shelter, listened to water drip from the roof, counted seconds. The 72 arrived at 6:03. 3 minutes late. Typical. The driver knew him. Morning, Dalton. Morning, Carl. Heading to the east side. Yeah. Big day. Dalton paused at the top of the steps. Something like that. Good luck then. Thanks. He found a seat near the front. The bus was mostly empty. A woman with headphones. A man in construction clothes. Neither spoke.
Dalton rode in silence, tracked their progress by the stops, by the sounds, by the rhythm of acceleration and braking that he'd memorized. 32 minutes to the transit center. He transferred to the 33. This driver didn't know him, didn't speak, just opened the door and waited. The industrial route was always empty this early. Businesses that didn't open until 8 or 9, warehouses with skeleton crews. Dalton sat, waited, tried not to think about what came next. Failed. His mind kept circling back. To Titan. To Dr. Harrison Wright. To the evaluation that would determine everything. He'd never met Wright. Didn't know what kind of man he was. What he valued. What he'd see when he looked at a blind veteran and a traumatized dog. Would he see potential? Or would he see liability? Would he see two beings trying to heal each other? Or would he see a disaster waiting to happen? The bus rolled through empty streets. Past the lumberyard. Past the defunct car dealership.
Cascade K9 Center, the driver called out. Thank you, Dalton said. He stepped down. The bus pulled away, left him standing in the cold morning air, alone with his thoughts for another 50 feet. Then the automatic doors hissed open. Graham was there. You're early, Graham said. Couldn't sleep. Neither could I. They stood in the lobby. The facility was quiet. Morning feeding wouldn't start for another hour. The dogs were still resting. Coffee, Graham offered. No. I want to see Titan. Dalton. I need to see him. Now. Graham didn't argue. Led him through the corridors. Their footsteps echoed. At cage 7, Titan was pacing. The sound stopped the moment they arrived. He heard you, Graham said quietly. Stopped the second your cane hit the floor. Dalton moved to the bars, knelt without hesitation. The movement was smooth now, practiced. Titan's nose appeared immediately, cold, wet, pressing into Dalton's palm with desperate urgency.
Hey, Dalton whispered. I'm here, just like I promised. Titan whined, high-pitched, anxious. I know you're scared. I am too. The dog pressed harder, trying to get closer, trying to reach through the bars. But we're going to do this, Dalton continued. We're going to show them what we've built, what we are together. He ran his hands over Titan's face, felt the tension in every muscle. You trust me? Titan licked his hand. Then trust me now. Trust that I won't let them take you, won't let them decide we don't deserve each other. Graham watched from a few feet away. He'd seen a lot in his years running Cascade, seen bonds form, seen partnerships develop. But this was different. This wasn't training. This wasn't protocol or methodology. This was two souls recognizing each other across a divide that shouldn't have been crossable. A blind man who couldn't see, a deaf dog who couldn't hear, both broken. Both somehow more complete together than they'd ever been apart. Dalton, Graham said softly. Wright will be here at 9:30. He likes to observe before the formal evaluation. We should go over what he'll be looking for. What will he be looking for? Control, responsiveness, safety indicators, evidence that Titan can function in a home environment without posing a threat. And what will he see? I don't know. Dalton stood. Titan stood with him, both watching each other through the bars. He'll see what everyone sees, Dalton said. A dangerous dog and a disabled veteran. Two liabilities. That's not. It is. And we both know it. Dalton turned. So we need to show him something else. Something he's not expecting. Like what? Like proof that broken doesn't mean useless, that different doesn't mean wrong. Graham was quiet for a moment, then nodded. Okay, so how do we do that? We give him a demonstration, not in a training room. Not in a controlled environment, something real. What did you have in mind? Dalton smiled. Grim thing. I have an idea, but you're not going to like it. The next 2 hours were preparation. Graham made calls, coordinated, set things up while Dalton worked with Titan in the training room. They ran through the commands, the vibration patterns, the trust exercises they'd built over 12 days. Titan was sharp, focused, every response crisp and immediate. But there was an edge to him, a tension that hadn't been there yesterday. He knew
Somehow he understood that today was different, that something was coming, something that would change everything. At 9:15, a silver Honda pulled into the parking lot. Graham watched from his office window. Dr. Harrison Wright stepped out, 58 years old. Grey hair cropped military short, khaki pants, blue button-down shirt, windbreaker with a K9 Handler Association logo. He moved with the careful economy of someone who'd worked with dangerous animals, someone who'd been bitten, who'd learned respect the hard way. Graham met him at the entrance. "Dr. Wright, thanks for coming on short notice." Wright's handshake was firm, professional. "Mr. Holloway, I understand we have an unusual situation." "That's one way to put it. Walk me through it." They moved to Graham's office. Graham explained Titan's history, the attacks, the 6 months of failed rehabilitation, then Dalton, the connection, the progress, the 48-hour deadline. Wright listened without interrupting, took notes on a tablet. His expression gave nothing away. "And the veteran is blind," Wright said when Graham finished. "Yes. Completely blind. Yes. IED in Fallujah 20 years ago. And the dog has partial hearing loss. Right ear. Approximately 60%. Wright set down his tablet. "You understand how this looks?" "I do."
A blind handler with a dog that can't hear, both with documented trauma, both with limitations that would disqualify them under standard protocols. "Yes. And you're asking me to approve a placement that violates every safety guideline in the book?" Graham met his eyes. "I'm asking you to see what I've seen, to give them a chance to show you what they've become together." Wright was quiet for a long moment. "Where are they now?" "Training room B. Waiting." "Then let's not keep them waiting." They walked through the facility. Wright observed everything. The cages, the dogs, the condition of the equipment, the professionalism of the staff. This wasn't just about Titan. Graham knew that. This was about whether Cascade itself was operating responsibly, whether Graham's judgment could be trusted. At the training room, they stopped outside the observation window. Inside, Dalton sat on the floor, back against the wall. Titan lay beside him, both still, both waiting.
"Tell me about the veteran," Wright said. "His name is Dalton Pierce, 62, Army EOD, 2 tours, lost his sight disarming an IED, lost 2 soldiers in the same incident. Family. Divorced, 2 years ago, no children, lives alone. Employment. Disability, some freelance work, accessibility consulting for construction companies. Mental health." Graham hesitated. "He sees a therapist, Dr. Rebecca Strand. She's the one who brought him here. Depression, PTSD. Probably both, but managed, functional." Wright made notes. "And before Titan, what was his quality of life?" "Isolated, minimal social contact. Rebecca says he was deteriorating, slowly but steadily. And now he shows up every morning at 6 a.m. He's engaged, present, alive in a way he wasn't 2 weeks ago." Wright looked through the window, watched Dalton's hand rest on Titan's head, watched the dog lean into the touch. "That's the bond," Wright said quietly. "Yes. It's real. Yes. But real doesn't mean safe. Real doesn't mean viable." "I know." Wright turned to Graham. "What's your honest assessment? Not what you hope. What you actually believe." Graham thought about it. About 12 days of watching something impossible become possible. "I believe they need each other," he said. "I believe Titan won't survive without Dalton. And I believe Dalton won't really live without Titan. That's emotional, not practical. Emotions are practical when they're the difference between life and death." Wright studied him. "You really believe that?" "I've been doing this 11 years. I've never been more certain of anything." Another long silence. Then Wright picked up his tablet. "Okay, let's see what they can do." They entered the training room. Dalton stood immediately. Titan stood with him, both alert, both ready. "Mr. Pierce," Wright said. "I'm Dr. Harrison Wright. I'll be conducting your evaluation today." Dalton extended his hand. Not quite in the right direction. Wright stepped forward, met it. "Thank you for coming," Dalton said. "Let's skip the pleasantries. I understand you want to adopt Titan under an emotional support animal classification." "Yes." "You understand the limitations, no public access rights, no off-leash privileges in shared spaces, complete containment to your private residence." "I understand." And you believe you can handle a 78-pound German Shepherd with documented aggression issues while being unable to see him? Yes. Why? Dalton's jaw tightened. Because he's not aggressive. He's traumatized. There's a difference. Explain. Aggression is a choice. A dog that wants to hurt people. Titan doesn't want to hurt anyone. He's trying to protect himself from more pain. And you know this how? Because I'm the same way. Wright raised an eyebrow. You've attacked people. I've pushed them away, isolated myself, built walls so high nobody could get through. Dalton paused. Until Titan. What makes him different? He doesn't need me to be anything I'm not. Doesn't need me to see. Doesn't need me to be whole. He just needs me to be here, to understand. Wright made notes. And his hearing loss. How do you compensate? Vibration patterns, low-frequency sounds, physical touch. We've developed a communication system that works for both of us. Demonstrate. Dalton knelt. Titan moved with him. Tap, tap. Titan stopped moving. Tap, tap, tap. Titan came closer. One long tap. Titan lay down. He responds to you, Wright said. But what about others? That's what we're working on. Working on isn't good enough. I need to see evidence that he's safe around other people. Dalton stood. Then let me show you. He turned to Graham. Is Kyle here? Yes. And Marcus? Yes. Good. Bring them in. Graham's eyes widened. Dalton, trust me. Graham hesitated, then activated the intercom. Kyle, Marcus, please come to training room B. 30 seconds later, they entered. Titan's entire body went rigid. Kyle was the man he'd attacked. Marcus was the handler who always brought the lead. Both represented threat. Both represented pain. Titan's lips curled. A low growl built in his chest. Titan, Dalton said quietly. Easy. The growl continued. They're not here to hurt us. They're here to help. Titan looked at Dalton, then at the two men, back to Dalton. The growl faded, slightly. Kyle, Dalton said. Come closer, slowly, from his left side. Kyle swallowed hard, started to move. Titan tensed, ready to spring. Titan! Dalton's hand on his head. Stay. One long tap of the cane. Titan stayed, every muscle quivering, but he stayed. Kyle came within 5 feet. Stopped. Good, Dalton said. That's good. Now Marcus. Same thing. Left side. Slow. Marcus approached. Titan's breathing increased. Rapid. Panicked. But he didn't move. Didn't attack. Good boy, Dalton whispered. You're doing so good. When both men were close, Dalton spoke again. Kyle, hold out your hand. Palm up. Let him smell you. Dalton, I don't think... Please, trust me like I'm trusting you. Kyle extended his hand, shaking slightly. Titan sniffed. Once. Twice. Didn't bite. He remembers you, Dalton said. Remembers attacking you, and he's choosing not to do it again. Wright watched all of this, silent, evaluating. Marcus, Dalton said. You have a lead. Yes. Attach it, but tell him what you're doing first. Let him see it coming. Marcus showed Titan the lead, moved slowly, clipped it to his collar. Titan flinched, but didn't snap, didn't fight. He's learning, Dalton said, turning toward where he thought Wright was standing. Learning that not everyone will hurt him, that the world doesn't have to be constant threat. Wright stepped forward. How long have you been working on this? Kyle and Marcus. This is the first time. The first time, Wright repeated. Yes. You're telling me this dog went from attacking these men to accepting their presence in 12 days? No. I'm telling you this dog went from having no reason to trust anyone to having one reason, me. And because he trusts me, he's willing to try trusting them. Wright looked at Graham. Graham nodded confirmation. That's remarkable, Wright said quietly. That's survival, Dalton corrected. That's what happens when you give broken things a reason to heal. Wright made more notes. Lots of them. Then he set down his tablet. Mr. Pierce, I'm going to be direct. Under normal circumstances, I wouldn't approve this placement. The risk factors are too high. The limitations too severe. Dalton's face went blank. But, Wright continued, these aren't normal circumstances. What you've built with Titan in 12 days defies every standard protocol, and more importantly, it works. He turned to Graham. My official evaluation will state that Titan is suitable for placement as an emotional support animal with Mr. Pierce subject to the following conditions. Graham grabbed a pen. Monthly check-ins for the first 6 months. Quarterly thereafter. Any incident of aggression must be reported immediately. Mr. Pierce must complete a certified handler course within 90 days adapted for his visual impairment. And Titan must be re-evaluated if Mr. Pierce's living situation changes. Wright looked at Dalton. Can you accept those terms? Dalton's voice was thick. Yes. Then as of now, Titan is released to your care. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Dalton dropped to his knees, put his arms around Titan. The dog pressed into him, both of them shaking. Thank you, Dalton whispered. Not to Wright, not to Graham, to Titan. Thank you for choosing me. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for showing me what it means to be alive again. Graham had to turn away, had to wipe his eyes before anyone saw. Wright cleared his throat. There's paperwork. It'll take about 2 hours to process. Mr. Pierce, do you have transportation arranged? I can help with that. Rebecca's voice from the doorway. She'd been standing there, watching, crying openly. I'll drive them home, she said. Make sure they're settled. Wright nodded. Good. Mr. Holloway, let's get started on the documentation. They left. Kyle and Marcus followed. Dalton and Titan remained, alone in the training room. We did it, Dalton said. We actually did it. Titan licked his face, over and over, like he was trying to memorize the taste, the feel, the reality of this moment. 2 hours later, the paperwork was complete. Dalton signed documents he couldn't read. Graham read each one aloud. Dalton listened carefully, agreed to everything. When it was done, Graham handed him a folder. Titan's medical records, vaccination history, dietary requirements, emergency contacts. It's all in there. Thank you, Dalton said, for everything, for believing in us. You made it easy, Graham said. You both did. Rebecca brought her car around, a silver Subaru with plenty of room in the back. Dalton and Titan walked out together. No lead, no restraints, just trust. The staff lined the hallway. Everyone who'd worked at Cascade. Everyone who'd seen Titan at his worst. They didn't clap, didn't cheer, just watched in silence as the dog who'd been scheduled for euthanasia walked toward freedom, toward life, toward home. Outside, the rain had started again. Light drizzle. Typical Oregon. Rebecca opened the back door. Titan jumped in without hesitation, settled on the seat like he'd been doing it forever. Dalton climbed in beside him, hand immediately finding Titan's head. Ready? Rebecca asked. Yes, Dalton said. The drive to Dalton's apartment took 40 minutes. Traffic was light. Rebecca drove carefully. No sudden stops. No sharp turns.
In the back seat, Dalton and Titan sat together. Neither moving, neither speaking, just being. For the first time in 6 months, Titan wasn't in a cage. For the first time in 20 years, Dalton wasn't alone. They arrived at the apartment building, 6th floor, 1 bedroom. The place Dalton had lived in isolation for 2 years. It wouldn't be isolating anymore. Rebecca helped carry supplies, dog food, bowls, a bed Graham had insisted they take, toys that Titan probably wouldn't use but might eventually. Inside, Titan explored, sniffed every corner, every room, learning this new space. Dalton stood in the center of his small living room, listening to the click of nails on linoleum, the soft huff of breathing, the sounds of another living being sharing his space. He'll need to go out, Rebecca said. There's a small park 2 blocks north. I'll walk you there, show you the route. Okay. They went together, all 3 of them. Down 6 flights of stairs because the elevator was broken, out onto the street. The park was small, more of a green space, grass and a few trees, a bench that had seen better days, but it was quiet, empty at this hour. Titan did his business, then sat beside Dalton on the bench. Rebecca sat on Dalton's other side. You did it, she said quietly. We did it, Dalton corrected. What happens now? Now we figure out how to live together, how to be, whatever we're going to be. You know I'm here, if you need anything. I know. They sat for a while, watching the rain, feeling the cold. Then Titan stood, looked at Dalton, ready to go home. Back at the apartment, Rebecca left them alone, promised to check in tomorrow. Dalton locked the door behind her, stood in his apartment, his home, which was now their home. Hungry? He asked Titan. He filled a bowl with food, set it on the kitchen floor. Titan ate, not rushed, not desperate, just normal.
When he was done, he found Dalton on the couch, jumped up beside him, settled his head on Dalton's lap. Dalton's hand found the familiar spot behind Titan's ears. "This is it," he said. "This is real. You're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. We're in this together now." Titan sighed, deep and content. Outside, the city moved on. Traffic, people, life happening at its usual pace. Inside apartment 6B, two broken beings finally found what they'd been missing. Not healing, not quite, but the beginning of it. The promise that maybe, just maybe, broken things could fit together in ways whole things never could. Dalton closed his eyes, not because he was tired, but because for the first time in 20 years he wanted to rest, wanted to let go, wanted to trust that when he woke up something good would still be there, and it would be. Titan would be there, always.